It's not about having a website. It's about having a site that works. It's about having a site that you treat as a growth engine.
If you are sitting down with an attorney who is on the fence, what are the steps you would recommend that attorney firms to take to get their digital or online presence as per your recommendations?
And if you think about it, your website is like 24/7 marketing, right? It's always there. It never takes a vacation. It doesn't, check out for the end of the day. It's always there to meet your next client whenever they come upon it. I don't foresee AI taking over everybody's job. The lead magnets that we offer that we're most successful with are worksheets, checklists, and we use calculators quite a bit, where visitors can put in some minimal information.
What is the one thing all the attorneys after going through OMG program, what is the aha moment you always hear when attorney realize that OMG program made the difference? When a family looking for a estate planning attorney, the first thing they do, they Google. And in that instant, attorney's website builds trust or send them looking elsewhere. In today's episode, I'm super excited to be speaking with Rita Chaires, the membership director of American Academy of Estate Planning Attorneys. Rita works closely with law firms across the country, and she's seen firsthand how the right digital presence transforms not just leads, but clients' confidence. Rita, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you very much for your time. And before we get into details, do you mind sharing what is the favorite part of your job, what you do?
I really, really enjoy helping attorneys grow their business and their law firms. A lot of attorneys, many attorneys, have gone to law school. They know the laws in their specific practice areas, but they don't really know how to run a business. They don't know much about accounting. Certainly, marketing is a big area, a big challenge for them. And so I really do enjoy helping them start out with a small firm and really grow it into something substantial, revenue generating.
Excellent. I think growing a business is always, very fulfilling for anyone. I think we are involved in the same part. So that's our focus as well. How can we help the people or businesses we are working with to do better? So excellent. Do you have any of your favorite case study where you worked with an attorney, estate planning attorney, and you did some digital marketing and it worked out excellent for them?
Yeah, we we work with a wide range of attorneys. Some of them are quite young, right out of law school, just launching their law firm. And then we have others who are pretty well established, and perhaps they've been in other areas of law, litigators or family law, and they've just come over to estate planning. So that's a new area for them. And when I look back, there's one firm in particular. It was a very well established firm, but they'd always focused on traditional offline marketing for the most part. It was radio spots, newspaper ads. They did some direct mail. They had a website, but it was really old school. It was mobile friendly. The messaging was very clear. The navigation wasn't intuitive. Thin content wasn't showing up on Google. It was one of the first websites ever built, probably. And it took quite a while and a lot of discussions before this particular attorney was comfortable with the idea of online marketing. And so we moved forward eventually from, his old school website to designing a new site, building the new site, implementing a digital strategy. And the difference was night and day in terms of the inquiries that they were receiving. So many more inquiries, higher quality leads because they were much more targeted than just the random traffic he was getting on his old website. Even the referrals. A lot of times we'll have law firms that much of their business is based on referrals. But even if a colleague recommends somebody, you're still going to go to their website and check them out. You're still going to look at their online reviews and see what they're all about. So that online strategy is still super important. So it really, as I said, the difference was night and day, increasing the traffic, but increasing the qualified traffic. And really people came to the consultations already trusting the law firm because the impression that the new site made on them was so strong.
Amazing. And did you do a whole lot of things to revamp their websites, or any specific things you did to their website which made all this difference?
Yeah. So he had treated his old site like a brochure, right? It was a static page or a few pages, just some information. We started with a redesign, so it was a much more modern look. It was mobile friendly. It was easy to navigate, certainly more secure. A lot of the old sites that we work with, they don't even have the SSL certificates, that security in place. And then in terms of the content, making sure it was fresh content, making sure that it was in depth. Previously it was really thin content, but really kind of digging into the subject matter. Certainly the way we formatted it, making sure that it was SEO friendly, making sure on the back end, as I said, it had the proper security, that it was fully optimized. And then one of the other most important things we did was making sure that there was a conversion strategy. His old
Mm.
site, there was no opportunity to download anything or sign up for anything. There was the generic contact us button. And so by implementing a conversion strategy where we were letting people know, here's what we want you to do on this page. We'd like you to download a report or a worksheet. That really made a huge difference.
Amazing. Now, I know there are, I think, 3 or 4 pillars of getting your website work for your business, from design, development, content, and as you mentioned, the conversion, which is even more important after promotion and getting some eyeballs to the website. So you want to share a couple of things with people who are
So
listening?
we have a range of different types of lead magnets, and we find that the ones that are interactive seem to be most successful. So rather than
Mm.
just offering a report, and we do have a lot of reports on our websites, we try to make those available to everybody. And so having a lot of content like those reports available, not behind a gate, is great. But the lead magnets that we offer that we're most successful with are worksheets, checklists, and we use calculators quite a bit
Mm.
where visitors can put in some minimal information. We only ask them for their name, their email address generally.
Excellent. Do you believe the website plays a critical role building that initial trust?
Oh, I think it's a vital role. In a lot of cases, that website is the first impression that prospects have of for a law firm. So it really is about building those relationships. Is the attorney professional? We'll use things like trust icons on the website to show what organizations an attorney may be part of, what bar associations, are they a member of the American Academy of Estate Planning Attorneys? Are there testimonials, right? That goes a long way in helping prospects, develop that trust in the firm.
Yeah, I totally agree. These elements are highly crucial for building that first rapport and getting new business.
We often recommend that our attorneys put their whole staff on, pictures and bios of their whole staff. It can be intimidating to pick up the phone
Mm,
and call an attorney, and people are nervous at that first visit. So if I walk through your front door and I see a receptionist that I've looked at, I've seen her bio and I've seen her picture on your site, it makes that connection a little bit easier.
yeah. You mentioned these putting a whole team on the site. More human faces, the more relatable the site can be. But do you have any other secret tools in your pocket to make this saying is easier, but in practice, making the website more relatable can be challenging. So apart from putting team members on the website, what are the other tools do you use for this purpose?
So we we try to avoid stock photos as much as we can. We really encourage our members to have pictures of real clients, pictures of them in a conference room with a client who's smiling and happy. Of course, we caution when they have to have photo releases for anybody they put on their website, but that really it doesn't look like a generic website. It looks like that particular attorney's website. It looks like their office.
Yeah, very good, good, excellent ideas. So when you look at across your attorneys, all the attorneys, to make a website the way we are discussing and you explained, what are the common challenges do you see attorneys face to come up or build a website like this?
So a lot of them, they're not versed in design. They don't know how to build a website. They don't know a lot of the theory behind it, and so they will oftentimes pick an outdated design. They'll have see a website that they personally like, and they think, okay, that's the website I want, but it's a website that we know likely does not work well. It's outdated design. It gives that loss of credibility. If you see an old fashioned site, you're going to assume that if the attorney might be kind of old fashioned and behind the times about other things like tax law and you don't want to go to a site that looks old. It doesn't look updated. It's a bad user experience a lot of times. Poor navigation makes it hard for prospects to find the information that they're looking for. They want to look at, sometimes content is so thin, members or attorneys won't recognize the need for having a lot of information for consumers, but also for search engines. If you
Mm,
have, if you're one of your areas that you want to focus on is, let's say, probate, but you don't have a lot of information about probate on your website, search engines are not going to rank you highly in those areas. So they don't really understand that some of the theories behind SEO and the content. They'll often ignore best practices in terms of font size or color contrast. The importance of having a screen reader friendliness so that it's easy to read. A lot of our, as you can imagine, a lot of prospects who are looking for estate planning attorneys could be older, and so they might have some vision problems, some
exactly.
navigation problems as well. And the attorneys don't often think about those things. Older sites are not designed for smartphones, so that
Mm,
can be frustrating, if it's an older design, slow load times. Some other challenges we see is really unclear messaging. If someone comes to your website and they're not clear right away on what you do or who you serve, that can be an issue as well. As I said, we also often see sites with poor SEO, so they're just not showing up. Especially for the attorneys we work with, local search is really important. They
mm,
want to connect with people in their communities. They're not as concerned about ranking on a national basis. And for them, they don't make that connection between having to include some information about the community and location pages and things like that. And then finally, I think the biggest challenge is that conversion strategy. They're not used to thinking in terms of, yes, you want visitors. Obviously, you want more traffic, but you want qualified traffic, and then you want that traffic to turn into leads.
exactly.
Kind of the top of that marketing funnel that we always talk about is filling your pipeline, getting people to your website, but then getting them to take some initial steps so that you can continue to market to them.
Excellent. I totally agree. I think for anybody, any attorney listening, the first few actionable things they can do is you mentioned pretty design and the design that works for law firms. That if you can guide us or help us more how to identify that this is just a pretty design, and this is a design which you should have, which will help you what you want to achieve.
We worked with an attorney one time who came to us and he had a link to another law firm website and he just loved the site. But because you love something personally doesn't mean it works, right? It
Exactly.
had all the bells and whistles. There were moving, content and bubbles and it was a terrible website because it did not work. There were a lot of bells and whistles, but that made it slow to load. It made it glitchy. All of those features that he kept adding one on top of the other, they weren't contributing anything to the value of the website whatsoever. It just personally appealed to him.
Exactly. And how do you deal with this challenge that people wants to add all the bells and whistles to the website, particularly on the homepage? How to avoid this temptation? How do you deal with that?
So what works best, because the attorneys that I work with are part of our academy, and so what I find works best is to be able to show them data. To say, okay, these are the websites that are performing the best. These are the ones
Mm,
that we know will work because they're getting more traffic, they're loading more quickly, they're getting more leads for these. And sometimes, we have to compromise. Sometimes what we'll say is, let's launch it without all the bells and whistles. And then if you still want it, if you don't think it's performing well and you still want it, then we can talk about adding, some of it. We're not going to add them all at one time. I always say it's like a science experiment, right? Back in grade school, we all learned when you are doing a science experiment, you don't change all the variables at one time. You pick one
exactly.
element and make a change and see how that impacts it. So
Mm.
that's kind of how we try to approach the website updates with our members.
Amazing. It's a big challenge, but I'm glad you have this under control. So excellent.
I always tell them, "I don't know how to create an estate plan, and I would rely on an attorney." And I'm pretty sure as an attorney, you probably don't know all the ins and outs of building or designing a website. So, respect the expertise.
Right approach and excellent way to uh, website work for your business. That's the whole goal is. So you have worked closely with attorneys in the OMG program. So can you walk us through how you take a new attorney who is struggling online to thriving online?
Sure. So our program is called OMG, and that's the Online Marketing Group. It's a program that's designed exclusively for estate planning attorneys who are members of the American Academy of Estate Planning Attorneys. So you do have to be a member to work with our program. Program helps our members, helps the law firms by, first of all, building sites with a really clean design and client-focused messaging. We have a lot of attorneys who they approach it where their biography is very long and very detailed and all about where they went to school and all the awards they've gotten, and that's important and certainly something to be proud of. But if I'm a prospect and I'm looking for an attorney that I'm going to trust with everything that matters to me, I want to know that you're knowledgeable and that you've helped other people, that if I'm coming to you to have an estate plan done, and maybe I have special circumstances, maybe I have a special needs child, or maybe I have a blended family. I want to come to your website and know that you have experience helping families in that same situation. So making it client focused messaging is really important. The design, super important, obviously. We try to roll out new designs each year and retire some old ones. We have a lot of members who come to us and we'll initially build them a website. And then after a few years, they recognize this is, a few years old already. I want a new one. I think right now we have 7 sites that are new sites that are being built for existing members, existing clients. So they recognize, and it's part of what we educate them on, that it's not a one and done situation. It's an ongoing marketing tool. We certainly put a lot of focus on local SEO, making sure there's a strong foundation by optimizing all the content and making sure the back end is search engine friendly. Certainly those built-in lead capture forms that we talked about earlier, guides, checklists, landing pages, making sure that our content is educational, not so much salesy. When we work with members and they are adding videos to the websites, which are very important, a lot of times members or attorneys will kind of hesitate, and there seems to be they're kind of overwhelmed with the idea of, I need to make videos and I have to hire a videographer and get a studio, and a lot of times uh, we advise them to not do that. Especially now, your phones, take excellent video. You want it to be a video that's educational and that makes a connection. You don't want it to be a sales piece, which sometimes when they have like an overproduced video, it comes out a little bit more like that. So making them more education based than sales based, and then just the ongoing support to keep the site fresh with content and all that.
You touched upon quite a few important points here, so I'll try to dig in a bit more further. For example, update a site. So how do you decide it's time to update the site?
Typically, if around the 3-year mark, we'll start having those conversations, particularly if the attorneys have an older template.
Mhm,
There are some dated looking ones, and it's just because design trends change over time. So
mhm,
if they built their site 5 years ago, it's going to look old. It's less modern looking. A lot of times there's less white space. And so we start those conversations and show them some of the new designs and talk about
mhm.
how the newer websites are performing. And in a lot of ways that gets them motivated to look at changing up the design.
Excellent. And you mentioned repeatedly local SEO, which is highly important for uh, attorneys. So, what is if somebody wants to do one thing to improve their local SEO, what would you suggest to those people?
So what we're seeing now is a lot of success by adding location references throughout the sites, weaving into the content, using the location, using the cities that you want to focus on. but also optimizing on the back end. So instead of just perhaps using a meta description or meta tag probate process, it would be probate process in, Ocean View, Delaware. Also adding location pages, which are pages that we dedicate to different areas. Someone who has an office in a particular city, they're going to rank well, chances
Mm.
are, in that city. But a lot of times your ideal client is in outlying cities. And so focusing on those other cities, including content that focuses on those other cities, seems to be working pretty well.
Fantastic. And what are your suggested reviews policies for attorneys?
We encourage our attorneys to get as many online reviews as possible, and we recommend that they use a platform. We typically use Bird Eye in our program, but we do have other members who use Connect and some other ones. And then once they obtain those reviews, we definitely add testimonials to the websites. And it sometimes we'll put a widget in from whatever platform they're using to manage those reviews. And sometimes it's just a design element
Mm.
and adding those testimonials and keeping them fresh as well. If there's a particular location page that's dedicated to focusing on a particular city, and we can get a review from a person in that city, we try to do that. Yeah, super
Excellent.
important.
Yes, local SEO, I think the reviews are critical in our experience, for most local SEO efforts. Okay. So what is the one thing all the attorneys after going through OMG program, what is the aha moment you always hear when attorney realize that OMG program made the difference?
Sometimes it's like a light bulb moment where you can see they've always thought of a website as just kind of like a brochure. You put it on, okay, I have a website now, I'm done. And when they realize that it's a dynamic marketing tool that will bring in real clients and that drive measurable growth of their firm. I've seen attorneys who are like kind of reluctant to you know focus on online marketing at all to becoming such converts where they're like, we looked at the numbers this month and we have more prospects coming from Google than anywhere else. And
Mm.
so when the online marketing kind of outpaces the traditional marketing, that's an aha moment for a lot of our members.
Excellent. And is it possible you can share, if you know, what is the average client size, the value of the client for the attorney?
It really depends because our members offer a lot of services from simple wills all on up to really, really complicated
Mm.
trusts. And I would say the average, and this is just kind of a ballpark, for that initial plan can be anywhere between $6,000, $8,000. But as I said at the beginning, this area of law is about relationship building. So many, many
Mm.
times someone will come in and you'll do an initial plan for them. And then over the lifetime, things change, right? They get married, they have children, they buy homes and other assets. And that all needs to be updated. Many, many times our members will see their children then come to them. They
Exactly.
come to, okay, you've taken care of my parents, you put their planning in place. I want you to take care of me now. And then when the parents eventually pass, then we go back and you have to, administer the trust. So it's not just a one and done check that's written. It is a lifetime of revenue generation.
That's exactly why I asked, and that's a generational referral. Plus, if you serve one customer, one lead, yeah, you often get referrals as well. If you are sitting down with an attorney who is on the fence, what are the steps you would recommend that attorney firms to take to get their digital or online presence as per your recommendations?
So we do work with some attorneys who aren't quite ready to sign up for the OMG program. And so we'll still kind of do an assessment of their online presence and make some recommendations. And the top three that I would typically focus on would be to make it clear, say who you help, say how you help them. Prospects shouldn't have to dig around to figure out what you do when they come to your website. In the very first few seconds, they should know who it is you serve, how you serve them, and why it matters. So I
Mm.
think a clear design supports that clear messaging. So shorter paragraphs, bold headlines, navigation certainly is important. So just making sure that the site itself is clear and your messaging is clear. The other thing I would say is make it actionable. Make sure you're telling the visitors what the next step is. If they come to your website, they shouldn't just inform a visitor. it should kind of guide them, right? Every page should say, what should I do next? If I come to your site because I Googled something, I searched for something, and I came and landed on a blog that you've authored perhaps. In that blog, it should then tell me for more information, download this guide or register for an upcoming free seminar. You don't want them to get to your website, read what they came to read, and then click away. You want to keep them engaged somehow. So using calls to action like scheduling a consultation or download or estate planning worksheet, something like that is super, super important. And then the other thing, especially in estate planning, is to make that connection, right? You want to connect emotionally. It shouldn't just be about
Mm,
legalese. So the language that you use, you shouldn't have like a lot of legal jargon. Make it warm, make it inspiring. An estate planning website really should reflect the human side of law. And some people find that funny, like law doesn't seem like it's a warm and fuzzy topic, but certainly
mm.
in estate planning, it can be. So using authentic photos, those testimonials, language that reassures families that you're the attorney who's going to help them. I think that is super, super important. It's not, we always say estate planning isn't just about the documents. Right? You can
Mm.
use a lot of online platforms now to generate those documents. It's not just about that. It's about your peace of mind and it's about making sure that your family and your legacy is taken care of.
Exactly. I could not agree more. I think I was in other podcast with a guest who they serve doctors niche, and they were mentioning the doctors have a highly relatable personalities, and putting big bulk of text on the website doesn't reflect their personalities. So showcasing their personality, that's the challenge. And if you can do that, and every attorney may have some sort of a special thing in their personality, and if they come up what is in it for the visitor or for the customers, and try to produce videos with the personality instead of a package of a studio. That is a challenge that can go a very long way.
We often encourage our attorneys to showcase something that's near and dear to their heart. So a lot of our attorneys work with the Alzheimer's Association and
Mm,
their teams get involved in the walk and different fundraising. So we want them to include things like that on their website, pictures of the team walking together, or if they've done client events that
mm,
show clients who are choosing to come and spend their time with you, not just to do business because
exactly,
they like who you are. So
exactly.
those are the kinds of things that really should be included.
I think we are in a relationship business. So I think we are here as well, and attorneys are even more relationable business because their advice affects the families, not one person. So I totally agree with that. Looking forward with all the challenges with AI, how do you see your role or attorney's role evolving in the next? I would years. It looks like months or maybe weeks.
Weeks. Yeah, I mean, I think that AI and like automated chat tools, things like that are really going to play a big role. We're looking at them in terms of having a role in answering FAQs for members, booking consultations. We've had some members who have gotten quite a few qualified leads or have been able to qualify leads through those chat tools. They might
Mm,
have somebody come to the website and they want a will or they think they want a will where maybe that's not really what they need, and by having those chat tools kind of seed those conversations, qualify those leads, it really has helped quite a bit already, and I just expect that to grow.
mm. So are you excited about the AI world, or do you see it challenging?
Both. I think the possibilities are just tremendous. And I think that I don't foresee AI taking over everybody's job. I do think that if we approach it as a tool that we can use to automate certain things and make us more productive and make us better at our job, then we'll be harnessing it for some great results.
I agree. So we should be positive, because I think a friend of mine who mentioned that same discussion happened when the wheel got invented. So that is my motivation nowadays. So I'm not looking at challenges. I'm looking at one day at a time.
Yeah.
What is in our control? What can we do to embrace this new challenge and survive? So that is my approach towards
That's a good
AI.
way to look at it.
Yeah. If you could leave one mindset shift for the attorneys from this conversation who are looking to improve their website, what would it be?
I think it would be it's not about having a website. It's about having a site that works. It's about having a site that you treat as a growth engine.
Mhm.
That it's not, and we also have a website, but it can be your main marketing tool that pretty much guarantees you're going to have a pipeline full of prospects that you can nurture over time. With traditional offline marketing, you'd send out direct mail, people might respond to it or maybe they won't and they're going to toss it out and that's kind of over and done. But for a website, especially if you're investing in SEO, you're investing for the long haul. And the more you do for it over time, it's going to continue to be a return on your investment. So look at it as a growth engine for your firm. And if you think about it, your website is like 24/7 marketing, right? It's always
Mhm.
there. It never takes a vacation. It doesn't check out for the end of the day. It's always there to meet your next client whenever they come upon it.
Yeah, amazing advice. We here at WP Mind, we say the website is the home base of any business. So basically, whatever marketing efforts you do offline, online, the goal is to bring people to your websites. It's your 24/7 office, and make that work for you and help you grow your business.
I
On this
agree.
website growth topic, any question which I should have asked you, which I haven't, but whatever the discussion we did today, any question you think I should have asked which I haven't?
I think you've been pretty thorough. The one thing I will say that I just touched upon, but I think didn't stress the importance is the content and
Mm.
making sure that your content is in depth. There's so much out there now, there's so much content to really differentiate yourself from other law firms in our case, and making sure that you share that knowledge for your consumers, for your prospects, for the search engines. One of the challenges that I didn't mention earlier is that a lot of our members will want us to generate a lot of content and then they're pretty slow about actually publishing it. Just one more thing they haven't gotten to. And so figuring that out makes a huge difference. Having that fresh content. There are new tax laws all the time. There's updates to the content itself. So for consumers, they want to know that you're up to date on the information. And search engines want to see that fresh content. So making sure that you don't have just a pretty website, but that it's educational and it really represents the your expertise is super important, I think.
Amazing. And I totally agree with the importance of the content. And this is something very important. And I'm involved in that as well. There are lots of challenges. And I would love to, have you again to discuss only about content, how estate planning attorneys should approach content, which should help them grow their businesses.
I'd like to join you for that.
And the last question, with everything going on in the world, what is giving you personally a joy or happiness nowadays?
Well, that's a good question. I always come back to my family. I came from a really big family. We're all still pretty close. I have my husband and I have children of our own. And I think that's also why I enjoy working with the attorneys at the academy. Our attorneys, we help our attorneys, and our attorneys in turn have a huge impact on their staff, on their clients' children. So it's just it brings me a lot of joy um, to contribute to that.
Amazing, you have something to to find your joy. Rita, it's been always a pleasure to meet with you or speak with you, and I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing your valuable expertise. I hope attorneys who are listening, it will be helpful for them to pick up these golden nuggets and make few changes to improve their online presence. But that's it for this episode of the Website Growth Show. If you find it helpful, please consider subscribing. Until next time, keep growing.